Hello book friends, I'm Allie. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about spooky books that freaked me out. We are coming into the Halloween season, and of course I want to give people recommendations for books that seriously creeped me out and that I think that you guys might enjoy. So without further ado, let's get to it. So I have quite a few classics for you guys because classics are like the original spooky vibes, and first on that list is Ray Bradbury, one of my favorite authors. This is Something Wicked This Way Comes. This follows a story of two little boys who are having a good time coming into the fall season, and then a carnival comes to their town, and it seems like they are the only two people in town who see that this carnival is not right. There is something wrong with this carnival, and they can't get people to believe them. And it is about their journey in trying to figure out what's going on with the carnival, and also to persuade, I think it's their dad, to believe them that there's something wrong with the carnival. And Ray Bradbury is such a superb writer. This book, you have to get used to the way it's written because it is written almost like poetry. It's not like sing-songy or anything like that, but his imagery is wonderful. It's beautiful, and it just really sucks you in, but you have to get used to the way that he writes his imagery before the book will start kind of flowing for you. And once you really get into it, it's just so hard to put it down because it is creepy. It had me spooked in several places. I was like, nope, no thank you. I don't want any part of that. But yeah, this is a wonderful book, and I couldn't recommend it highly enough to you. Next up, I have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. I personally really like Robert Louis Stevenson's writing. I think that he has writing that you can really dig into. There's a lot of depth in his writing. I think that as far as like studying deeper themes, he is definitely an author I would recommend for you. This is about a man whose best friend seems to be losing his mind, and it tells the story from the best friend's perspective, seeing that his friend is not right anymore, that there's something wrong, and there are bad things happening in town, and he doesn't want to believe that his friend would do these things, but at the same time his friend is just straightforward saying, I am messed up. There's something wrong. So this book is a wonderful study in character, and it is a thoughtful story about like the good and evil that's within everyone. And I think that it's just so well written, and it is very creepy, and it does character building excellently. So if you're looking for a really good spooky story with a very scary circumstance, I mean, he's very, very scary, I would recommend this one. Definitely read it. It's so good, and it's not that long. It's fairly short, and I listened to the audiobook, and I also have read it physically. The audiobook is really well done too, so if you want to check the book out through the library, that's a really good route to do too. Next I have The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. If you have watched this show on Netflix, the book is not the same. The show is superb. I really enjoyed it, but the book is different, and to be honest, when I started this book, I didn't like it. When I started it, I was like, why is she writing it like this? This doesn't make sense. This is frustrating. But then I got to the end and I was like, oh my goodness. The way she did that was perfect. Everything she does in this book is for a reason. She doesn't write it the way that she does going into it because she's not a good writer. She writes it that way because she wants the reader to see that there is a person staying in this house who is losing their mind. I'm not going to say who it is because it would spoil the end, but there's a person losing their mind, and you don't know which character it is, and she writes it in a way that is like a slow descent of the character's sanity, and I think that she did a fantastic job of showing how the human mind can slowly slip into a crazy state, and that it doesn't even seem like it's going that direction, and then you start to question how much of what happened was actual reality, or how much of being in one of the characters' heads, because it kind of swaps perspectives, how much was actually kind of made up or just a little bit exaggerated because she wasn't all there anymore. So this is a wonderful book. It's very creepy, and I look forward to reading it again this year because it's one of my favorite Halloween books. Okay, next I have a middle grade book that I've already talked about some, and that's Coraline by Neil Gaiman. This book is incredibly creepy. He does a great job of building a feeling of just despair and a feeling of being secluded and like nobody understands you and like you're alone, the way that a child who has no siblings might actually feel whenever the parents are busy doing their own thing. And because Coraline feels lonely, she goes exploring one day and she finds a door, and she ends up sneaking into this door and going into an alternate dimension. And Neil Gaiman writes creepiness so well. And the other mother in this other world is very reminiscent of a spider. That's what she reminds me of. He gives you the imagery of almost her being a spider catching people in her web, and it's just really creepy. I think that this book is wonderful, and it definitely creeped me out. But I mean, as far as not being too scary because it's a middle grade, this is a great place to go if you're looking for something that's really creepy but just not too scary. This is a great book. I have another Neil Gaiman for you, and that's The Ocean at the End of the Lane. This book is fairly short, but it is a crazy ride. It freaked me out several times. It follows the perspective of a man who has gone back to his childhood home, and he's starting to remember some of the things that he experienced in a time frame of when he basically thinks that he kind of grew up. So he had like this time frame of a section of his life where he felt like he started to understand the world in a different way, and it was the time, it goes back in time and it tells you the story of what he went through in that time. And he meets a little girl who lives down the lane after a person dies at the beginning of the book, and his life is turned upside down because of this little girl. And it was honestly scary. There are scenes that just like make you want to cry for the main character because it's told from the perspective of a child, and the scenarios that he finds himself in where nobody believes him and he's being put through a kind of hell and he doesn't know how to get through it, and then the way that it ends is just so impactful because it's like everything that he experienced and went through, and then you're ending on him actually being an adult, so it's kind of like a flashback into the past, and then it comes back to him in the present, and it's so wonderfully done. And this book is super creepy. I was flipping through the pages so quickly at the end because I was like, oh my gosh, it's wonderful though. I highly recommend anything by Neil Gaiman. And the last book that I have for you guys is Into the Drowning Deep, which is by Mira Grant, which is a pseudonym for Shauna Maguire. And this book is about sirens, and it is about the dark side of sirens. I like this book because it gives you a scientific kind of view on how sirens could possibly be real. And because of this book, I'm not fully convinced that they're not real anymore. It follows the perspective of a girl who is like gathering together a research team to go out into the Marianas Trench to see if there are sirens, because there was a boat with, I believe it was her sister, that went out to research it in the past, and they had footage of being attacked by sirens, but A lot of people wanted to say that it's not real, that it was fake footage, and so they're going out to experience it for themselves, and they're supposed to have the state-of-the-art ship that has all of this awesome technology to keep them safe, and it turns out that it might not be quite as safe as what they thought it was, and this book is a roller coaster. I was on the edge of my seat reading this book. I could not put it down. I thought that it was wonderful. This book honestly has me believing that the ocean is a terrifying place that has mythical creatures in it that we honestly would never be able to find even if we wanted to, because they are smart. And it does have a lot of that scientific lingo in it, in sections, but it's done in a way that makes you feel like you really understand what's going on, and it's not overly done. This book has great spooky atmosphere, it has very creepy monsters in it, and it has an ending that you just really don't know what to expect from. So this is a wonderful book to read this time of year, for sure. So these are the books that I want to recommend to you guys for a good spooky read, or just a creepy atmosphere. If you have read any of these books and you'd like to chat about it, feel free to drop me a comment down below. If you have some books that you would like to recommend to me, I would love to hear about it, so please leave me a comment and I will chat with you. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later.